Hello, welcome to an instructional lesson created by yours truly, Philip Hack, and narrated by Philip Hack. This lesson is to be used in future classrooms or by other social studies instructors. However, I just want to take a quick moment here to thank you for taking the time to participate in today's lesson. Today's lessons, we will be exploring the world of propaganda and how it was used in World War II. We will also look at propaganda forms and make connections to modern time propaganda. However, to start a lesson on propaganda, we have to discuss what the word propaganda means. Propaganda can be defined as information, usually biased, or presents information in a misleading nature used to promote or publicize political cause or point of view. In addition, in World War II, propaganda was used more than any other time period in the world's history, with the new technological inventions such as photographics, radio, and film. Persuasion methods bombarded everyday life. While we're conducting this lesson, there will be two essential questions that I want you to focus on. The first essential question is, how was propaganda used during World War II? The second essential question, how does propaganda influence opinions? Propaganda was also used to promote Nazi Germany regime in the late 1930s. Germany propaganda department produced 2 million brochures, 7 million posters, 60 million newspaper wall posters, leaflets, etc. Wow, that's a lot of propaganda. In addition, Germany propaganda department also carried out an estimated amount 30,000 slideshows, 45,000 film evenings every month, 200,000 meetings of public or factory mass meetings. That's a lot. In addition, I did not pronounce this word here because it is in German and I'm not fluent in German, so I will not take a stab at it. That word there in English means Germany's film department of the propaganda department. Major contributor to the rise of Adolf Hitler and to the rise of propaganda is Mein Kampf, also known as in English My Flight, was the main contributor to putting Hitler on the map politically and the first to start the other propaganda tactic forms. The picture over here on the right is a poster that illustrates the book and shows that there was 4 million copies sold. The novel also describes the process of Hitler becoming anti-Semitic, outlines his political ideology and future plans for Germany, which is a major example of propaganda because it influences others towards anti-Semitism. For those that don't know anti-Semitic, this word here, anti-Semitic can be defined as expressing hostile or prejudiced views against Jews, individual Jewish people, which is a form of scapegoat propaganda. Now, at this time, after hearing the directions, I want you to pause the show and go to the Google Doc located here and answer questions 1 through 5 in part 1 section. After answering, please click Next button and leave Google Doc open. You will be using it later in the lesson. Once you have answered all the questions in the above Google Doc, go to the community forum and add a contribution to the class discussion. Return the lesson after completing the responses. For those that want to look at the questions in the discussion forum, they are located here. However, once you're all finished up with the Google Doc and your responses to the discussion forum, please come back to the lesson and continue on with propaganda. Part 2, propaganda forms. How can propaganda influence society? There are 9 major and popular techniques during World War II and throughout the 21st century that we will focus on. First one, name calling or stereotyping. Calling somebody Nazi to be more in favor for the war against Nazi. Glittery generality is the Ford statement of being Ford strong. Transfer. It's a symbol of the American flag and what information it transfers to persuade a society in America. Testimonial using famous individuals such as Michael Jordan to speak out to increase police community affairs. Plain folks propaganda presents ideas that align with the majority of the society. Bandwagon propaganda is an example of act now, protect the women and children. Least of all evils propaganda is war is horrible, but that's the price to pay for peace. And scapegoat, which we've already talked about, anti-Semitistic, places blame on an individual or group. And then last but not least, fear, the communists are coming, places fear into the society to persuade them to act upon their fears. First one that we're going to reiterate now is name calling and stereotyping example, which is on the left, and that demonstrates a Nazi and German soldier acting as a two-headed monster. Glittery Genealogy is having Rosie the Riveter here, saying we can do it to create a feeling and uses no direct evidence. Transfer example is located on the left, presenting the eagle and battleships fighting for or with Freedom Eagle, saying that we've just begun to fight. Testimonial example using Captain America comic book hero as making a testimony to be in favor of the war. Plain folks example is having a common woman here making bombs and buying bombs. Common woman self-image and align with the war demands from a society. Bandwagon example is over on the right hand side with presenting England's version of American Uncle Sam, saying please join England and join the war efforts. Lesser of Evil's propaganda example is located on the left, illustrating a Japanese soldier or colonel saying go ahead, take the day off, which is an underlying statement for a society that takes a day off of work during work week is beneficial to the enemy, hence to Germany and Japan. And once again, scapegoat example, placing blame on an individual or a group. Last but not least is the fear propaganda example of placing fear into individuals, like the example here on the left of placing fear that their child will be lost to the Nazi regime either because it had died in war efforts or it was taken captured by the Nazi regime. After viewing and hearing the propaganda examples, I just want you to think a minute of what colors, symbols, and messages were used within propaganda. After hearing the directions, pause the lesson, please. Go to your classroom discussion and post your thoughts to the above question in Part 2, Forums of Propaganda. I have included the URL here again at the bottom, just in case if you need it. But once you're all done, resume the lesson and we'll continue on with our propaganda lesson. Alright, now we're going to take a look at propaganda videos. The following two videos were used during World War II era to add extra persuasion and to capture a larger audience. Once we have taken a look at these propaganda films, please pause the show and go to the Google Doc and answer the questions. Section 2, Part 3. Propaganda in film. Return to the lesson after you have answered the question. So we're going to start here with the 7 Wise Dwarfs video. And I want you Now, if you didn't notice, you had the 7 wise dwarfs there take their gems from their mine and went to the post office to buy war saving certificates. You can see the actual war saving certificate here in the post office window. This was just a way for individuals to be more persuaded to support the war and buying war bombs and war war saving certificates. Now here we're going to take a look at Donald Duck and their portrayal of the Nazi regime, and also portray how. Now, if you couldn't tell, they were making fun of the Nazi regime and their soldiers and how they were a part of a overall scheme of being fat, obnoxious, and clumsy, and being affiliated with Japan soldiers. Now we're going to take a look at how Donald Duck, as a Nazi, is being treated within one of their factories. Now, if you couldn't tell, Donald Duck is not having a good time acting as a Nazi in one of their factories. This was just a representation that the Nazi regime didn't even treat their own soldiers and factory workers right. Now we're going to go to the end of the movie here to show that Donald Duck was just having a bad dream, and that it shows another form of propaganda illustrating how he is so happy to be a American citizen, which is a form of testimonial propaganda. Now for part 3 here, we're going to go ahead and do a discussion on propaganda. I want you to go back to your discussion forum and answer the following questions in the discussion forum. I have included them here on the slide for you, so you can go ahead and check them out. Before you go to the discussion forum, please pause the show here and then come back to the last 45 seconds of the lesson. See you in a bit. Now for part 4 is homework. You are expert in propaganda. It's your turn to turn that expertise into a creation of art. Go over the directions here on the slide and go to the forum and post your thoughts to the homework assignment. Ask me if you have any different ideas on your creation of art, and then in additional, give me any kind of email if you have any questions or concerns. Have fun, be creative, and always remember to always love work and work it well. Thank